welcome to Busted Speakers. I'm Alex.
I'm Ed.
And I'm Cam.
And today we're reviewing the 7th album from Laura Marling, Song for Our Daughter. You know, at this point, she has one of the best discographies in the game. She's been in the game a while, 12 to 14 years. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of hers, but, you know, I've heard a couple albums. I really liked her last one. And I Speak Because I Can's probably just one of the best singer-songwriter albums of the last decade. And that did come out 10 years ago, so safe to say at this point she's refined and, you know, became a master of her own craft at this point. Like, she just is an excellent performer. Like, how many adjectives for positive words do you want? I mean, this is just elegant, lush, great stuff. I'm interested to hear what you guys thought, since I don't believe you've heard anything from her before that much. Like, what did you think of this album, Cam?
I thought this was a really great album. Yeah, you're right. I've only ever heard of her in passing, maybe.
Yeah.
And I was, like, shocked to learn that she's only 2 years older than I am. And that just, like, sent me into an existential spiral of if she's making incredible music and she has this, like, beautiful, mature voice. It's like, how are people so talented? And why am I so lazy?
Oh, come on, man. I mean, yeah, you could look at all the stuff she's achieved, all the albums she's put out, but come on, you're doing Busted Speakers, come on.
Yeah. And it's helping me discover all the wonderful things other people are doing.
I bet Laura Marling wishes that she could do a podcast like this.
Well, Laura Marling, if you're listening, we'd love to have an extra on the podcast sometime.
Imagine. So you liked it then?
Yeah.
That's good. Ed?
Yeah, you were right on the money about me not really being familiar with her other work at all. When I was looking through her discography after we decided to review this, I did realize that I recognized the cover art for Once I Was an Eagle, which seems to be the most celebrated album in her discography to this day, possibly rivaled by this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably for good reason, even though I've not heard those other albums. This is one of the better sort of folk singer-songwriter albums I've heard in recent memory. I really dug it. It's just an extremely cozy listen with a lot of conviction in Laura's vocal performances, plenty of nice angular acoustic guitar melodies, and overall it's just a very snug album to listen to. This is definitely one of those albums for this year, and I've not come across many that I could describe this way this year, that I could just stick on at any time and just enjoy for what it is without really needing to be in any specific mood. So that's high praise from me.
I think she knew that it would have that effect on people because it was slated for, I think, late summer release.
Oh yeah.
But she saw no sense in holding it off because it was all fully finished, fully mixed with producer Ethan Johns, who's produced for people ranging from Kaiser Chiefs, Kings of Leon, Paolo Nutini, and even Paul McCartney, and Laura Marling herself in the past. But, you know, it's all mixed with him, and, you know, she saw no sense in holding it off if it gave people, you know, some joy, something in this hard time.
That's cool, because obviously a lot of albums right now are being pushed back, and it's for valid reasons, you know, solidarity for record stores, just albums not being finished when they were expecting to have finished them, but obviously they can't go in the studio proper right now. Like, it's understandable, but it is also really nice when artists pull things forward in that way. It's happened with a few albums, and I'm glad it happened with this one because it has been a very nice, cozy listen.
Sadly, her touring schedule, as with everyone, is nerfed right now, but, you know, it's nice that she was able to bring this out here, and I think close to exactly 10 years after her second album, I Speak Because I Can, came out.
Yeah. You mentioned the production. I think it's one of the best things about this album. It's not especially unique, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. That's not what it's going for. It just feels very full and organic to me, and that matches that cozy, snug vibe, even though there are, you know, plenty of layers and emotional moments across the album. I'm not saying it's just a snooze fest in a way, but to have all those layers sort of managed in such a way by the production to keep them very easy on the ears and digestible, it's done in a good way. It doesn't feel despondent like it could be at risk of feeling.
It's produced so well. I feel like the production brings everything out of all of the instruments and voices on here. Although when I say voices on the air, I think it is just Laura overdubbing herself, like on Held Down. Such haunting harmonies, but I think they're all done by her, so that is amazing in of itself. The production brings everything out of all the instruments, showcases them to the fullest potential, and I really can't complain on the production or mixing fronts.
There are some male vocals driving things on the closing track For You, though, as well.
That's
right?
the only case of that, which is, I think, done by her boyfriend, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so this album is one of the most replayable ones I've ever heard. Like, when I get to the end of For You, which we were just talking about, I instantly just want to put Alexandra on again, because, I don't know, something about this album just draws me back to it. If ever I'm just thinking, oh, I need something to listen to right now, more often than not, it's going to be this.
Yeah, Alexandra is one of the best songs I've heard this year. I really love the outro coda on that song as well. I found it to be a neat little, almost unexpected bow on a song that was already really well fleshed out and, you know, felt complete in a way. It's one of the more layered songs here, so it was nice to see it have a little change of direction towards the end into this really catchy outro part before bringing it all full circle. Great opener.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about the, I don't know if it's an overarching concept, but the loose concept that obviously this is called Song for Our Daughter, and there is a song for Our Daughter, but Laura Marling does not have a daughter. The lyrics on here are speaking to an imaginary daughter, which is a really interesting lyrical idea to form songs around. Did you guys think?
Yeah, I caught onto that, especially with the title track, which is another highlight here for sure. Conceptually, it works out really well, and also the title track has a very good blend of what I consider to be the two sides of the record instrumentally. Because I think there's songs here that are a bit more minimal and intimate, like Blow by Blow, for example, and Hope We Meet
Blow
Again.
by Blow, How We Meet Again. That's more of her style, like, especially I Speak Because I Can. Like, How We Meet Again could really just be on that album. Like, it's distinctly reminds me of the sparse productions of that album, which I appreciate, but I also like that there's songs that slightly change things up or evolve her style.
Yeah, there's songs that are more rollicking and sort of soft poppy, bit more Americana influenced, and I get a big Joni Mitchell vibe from a lot of those songs, and her voice as well. But yeah, the title track blends those two approaches together, with the more minimal, intimate side of things starting it off, but it's slowly building up with drums and piano and strings added as it goes on. It's just really nice. That song has a really nice build to it.
Yeah, you like the lyrical themes that she explores here, Cam?
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting conceit to write to a child you don't have, especially just with everything, the world and the state that it's in right now, which we keep bringing up because we can't freaking help it.
It's hard not to.
Yeah. Something else that I found out, she apparently also described the album as like a letter to her younger self from who she is now. So.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that, and I think like both of those concepts probably intertwine on a couple of these songs.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not mutually exclusive by any means.
Yeah, like the song Alexandra, I mean, she's speaking about an imaginary character. Apparently it was influenced by the Leonard Cohen song Alexandra Waiting, and it's kind of interesting because I feel like she paints a really full picture of a person. Like, I feel like I know more about Alexandra than like real people from this song.
Yeah.
I'm guessing all of us have Held Down as a favourite.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, Held Down's definitely a great track. As the main single of the album, it was definitely the right pick for that, I'd say. When she reaches for those higher notes on that song, that's definitely when I get really strong Joni Mitchell vibes. And this album actually reminded me of the Wise Blood Titanic Rising album from last year that was my absolute favourite album of last year. Not that it didn't have some strong competition, but, you know, that's a positive comparison for sure. But it reminded me of that, not so much in how this album sounds, but in how it takes very clear influences from past music and doesn't feel like it's being pastiche in any way. I mean, I possibly got that vibe from the song Strange Girl. That does feel a little bit borrowed to me. But that's pretty much it. Everything else here feels, you know, like it is Laura's music and it is her, soul coming through in the music.
The guitar playing on Strange Girl is really reminiscent of like a early 70s guitar playing style. I don't know how to explain it. It just sounds like something that would be used specifically on 70s recordings. I don't know, it's like a very slapdash way of playing. Very hard to explain.
Yeah. I think there's other songs here as well that have a big Jackson C. Frank vibe in terms of the acoustic guitars as well.
Yeah, going into Held Down for me, I'm blown away by that song. Like, you're already going from Alexandra, which is amazing. Something about this song is just so haunting and beautiful. Like I said earlier, the backing vocals, the harmonies of her own voice is just really haunting. I love when the guitar comes in during the choruses. It's just, honestly, I think it's one of the best modern folk singer-songwriter songs I've ever heard, maybe even just ever. Honestly, like, everything I want from one of these songs is just here. Just really, really amazing for me, that one.
Yeah, if you have a similar taste to Alex, I can see it being a big favourite for anyone who's into similar music to you.
Yeah, because I do really like singer-songwriter folk stuff. I mean, I was listening to some James Taylor stuff earlier. I mean, I don't know how many people are still doing that, but, I am, and this definitely is as good as the definitive article of whatever the genre singer-songwriter means. I mean, singer-songwriter used to be called that because it was a simple way to classify people who were just a voice and a guitar.
It was almost by necessity back in the day, but now with greater ease of access, it's another one of those things like the term indie that's just kind of become so esoteric and abstract in what it actually means.
Now that can mean anyone who writes a song and sings, so it's almost not a genre anymore.
If we're going to categorize it that way, it's definitely one of the strongest of late.
How do you guys feel about Blow by Blow?
I'd honestly say it's one of my least favorite songs here, but it is a very good song to make a point about the general level of, really solid quality of this album. I'd say it's one of my least favorites because just on a songwriting level, it doesn't feel as developed as a lot of the other songs here. But having said that, it is still packed with these really great string embellishments that didn't even necessarily need to be there. I feel like a lot of other songwriters wouldn't have even bothered with that. I mean, I don't know how difficult it is to, add all those lush strings to it, but she did it anyway, and it adds a lot of much needed flavor to the song, makes it easy to revisit. It doesn't feel skippable to me at all. I actually don't really dislike any of the songs on here. I think they're all good.
There's no bad song here. What's the weakest one? I know you just said Blow by Blow, but I mean, to me, that's one of my second or third favourites.
I'd probably say Strange Girl for the reasons I listed earlier, but again, it's not a bad song at all. I still like it.
I just think she's quite incapable of writing a bad song.
Yeah, it makes me look forward to checking out her older material, as if, that wasn't the case already just from hearing this. I feel like I've been missing out a lot on one of the better modern singer-songwriters, as you mentioned.
I feel like we're sharing three heads on this one, guys.
That's good. We've definitely butted heads on some other stuff, but
yeah,
I think we're all pretty synonymous and free heads on this one.
What were some of your favourite songs, though, Cam?
I think Fortune is second or maybe third favorite. Held Down and Alexandra are really a tie, but I really loved Fortune.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I just appreciate, shaking things up and having a song that doesn't have a formal chorus.
That's true, yeah.
I wish I could get into more detail about this kind of thing. It was just like general stuff that I love. Like I love a story song, or something that feels like it's telling a small scale individual person's story. Like it's just about somebody who like runs away from home or just runs out from a bad situation or just trying to find their own place in the world. But their fortune may not be the best.
I really like I'm just going to say this about every song. I really like this song. I really like this song. I mean, Only the Strong is really strong as well. Another more bare, minimal production choice there.
Yeah, that was one of the ones where I got a big Jackson C. Frank vibe, I think.
I could almost categorize the first half of this album as being slightly more upbeat and energetic, but that's not true fully. Like, that's true for maybe Alexandra and, like, Strange Girl, but like the first half is slightly more upbeat and the second half of the album is slightly more sparse and slow paced, but generally she doesn't put a foot wrong with this album. Like, I'm just really happy with it.
There is a great balance to it with the sequencing there. I feel like I bring up the sequencing in every single review we do, but here's a case where I'm not complaining about it. I agree with you, Alex. I think it does start out more energetic and then mellows out towards the end, but it does it in a way that makes sense and feels like it has a progression to it.
Kind of building on your guys' thoughts about it, it's like my meager contribution to that perspective of it starting out more upbeat and then getting softer as it goes on. The first time or two I listened to it, I caught myself thinking toward the end, wait, I don't remember there being like any percussion on any of these songs. But then I would go back to the beginning. I'm like, oh no, wait, there is like all throughout. But it's very light, and it's not like jazzy. It's not like wire drumsticks or anything like that, or wire brushes. But it is just like very light, and it's all used to help contribute to the atmosphere of the album. So everything on this album works together really well in that regard.
Yeah, it's very organic, like I said.
You get some songs that are propelled by the drums, like Strange Girl, and some where...
Yeah. I do love the shuffle on that song.
Yeah, definitely. And some songs where it's very minimal percussion. And I think there are even a few songs that, like, don't really have any. Like, Blow by Blow, I think, doesn't, does it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think it's only a couple of songs that have really strong drums. So I think you're actually right initially, Cam.
Yay.
I don't know where that leaves us on that point, but I'm gosh darned happy we did it.
Just a thought.
Yeah, how would you summarise your thoughts on this, and what would you give it, guys?
I'd say pretty much what I said in the opening. I really dug it. It's a very likeable, cozy, easy to listen to album. I think the production is one of its biggest strengths because there's no real clear signs of any like overly digitized compression or elaborate studio trickery anywhere to be found here. The mood is never broken by the production on the album, and everything's just so wonderfully balanced and dynamic. Even in the album's most layered moments, it never breaks its mood. Of course, none of that would matter if it didn't have solid songwriting to tie everything together. And thankfully, I feel like pretty much all of these songs are well written enough to each stand out on their own merit, even the ones I liked a little less. With albums like this, I guess there's a risk of everything blending together, but I never really got that impression here, which is great. This is definitely going to be one of this year's albums that I just stick on when I'm not entirely sure what I want to listen to, and I want something easy and unintrusive, but far from substanceless at the same time. So yeah, I'm definitely going to check out anything Laura puts out in future, and definitely dig into her previous discography just based on this one album alone. So I'm going to give it a 7 overall. I really liked it. In terms of favourite tracks, the opening 2 songs, great. Alexandra Held Down, great songs. I really love the title track as well. Fortune is a great one, and Hope We Meet Again. It feels like the real closer to the album to me, with For You being a bit more of an outro, in a sense, a bit more of a coda. But I do like when artists do that, and I think it works well here. Only things I really have against it, Strange Girl does wander a bit off into the pastiche zone, but it's still a fun song. And yeah, the way she incorporates her influences is really admirable. I wouldn't praise it on the same level as Wise Blood's album from last year, but again, they're pretty different albums. I wouldn't really compare them musically, but they do share that same strength, which is a strength that I very rarely see in music like this, honestly. A lot of the time, music like this can end up feeling really derivative because it's very well tread ground. But like I said, the strong songwriting is what really brings out the unique qualities of this album, I'd say. So yeah, it's great.
I really don't have much else to say besides what I've said all the way through it. It's just this just ticks a lot of the boxes that I need to be ticked for an album and an artist like this. I love her voice. I love the production of it. She's got a great eye for detail in her lyrics. She tells very compelling stories, and yeah, just can't imagine not checking out everything else that she's done or ever will do. So 8 out of 10. Thanks for introducing me to this, Alex.
No problem. I'm by no means an expert on her. Like, I've enjoyed her stuff in the past, and this was just, oh, well, I heard her last one. I feel pretty good about checking this one out. I'm so glad I did. Like, this is one of the best albums I've heard this year. It's definitely my most played, I think, even at this point. Like, I've honestly played this about 8 or 9 times. Maybe Future Nostalgia or Charlie XCX's album I've played a little bit more, but otherwise, this is one of my absolute favourites of the year so far, containing obviously some of her best songs so far. Her voice, I think, has improved a little bit since her last album. Production is great. The songs are there. No weak songs in my mind. I was a bit over the top with my score of her last album. I think I gave it a 9 out of 10. If anyone cares, that's probably more realistically like a 7.5 out of 10. But, still really good. This one I'm going to give 8.5 out of 10. Yep, I'm going to stick by the 0.5s till the day I die, because if Pitchfork can give out of 100s, I guess I can give out of 20. That's not that bad. No? Okay.
Not in the grand scheme of things. I think you're fine.
I think I'm fine too. Thanks for that. Yeah, definitely highly recommended. Check it out. I recommend the albums I've heard before, and this is probably going to be the accelerant or the foot in the ass I need to check out all of the rest of her discography. Highly recommended by me, of course. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10.
Alright everybody, thanks for tuning in to Busted Speakers. If you like this video, leave us a like. You can subscribe if you want to see more of our album reviews. You can follow us on Twitter @_BustedSpeakers. You can follow me on Twitter @SubProspector. If you've heard Laura Marling's song for our daughter, leave your thoughts on it in the comments below. Tell us what else you'd like us to review, and we will see you all next time. Bye.
Later, guys.